War doesn't begin the same way for everyone. For most people, it begins with fear. A breaking news notification appears on a phone. Television anchors suddenly switch to urgent tones. Stock markets begin to fall. Gas prices climb. Governments issue warnings. Airports grow crowded. In just a few hours, the world can feel unstable. But for the ultra-rich, war rarely begins with panic. It begins with preparation. Long before headlines dominate television screens, private analysts and geopolitical advisors are already monitoring global tensions. Billionaires operate in an ecosystem where information flows through private intelligence briefings, economic forecasts, and diplomatic networks. Their advisors track military deployments, trade negotiations, political alliances, and economic sanctions. When conflicts like the Russian invasion of Ukraine erupted, millions of people around the world were shocked by how quickly the situation escalated. But inside private investment offices and global wealth management firms, contingency plans were already being activated. For individuals like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, geopolitical instability isn't just political news. It's a financial risk event. Their teams analyze how war could affect supply chains, currency markets, energy prices, technology exports, and international trade routes. Because when you manage billions of dollars across multiple continents, even a small geopolitical shock can trigger massive consequences. Factories may shut down overnight. Shipping routes can become unsafe. Sanctions can freeze international transactions. Entire industries can lose access to critical resources. These risks can ripple across the global economy in a matter of days. That's why the ultra-rich rarely react emotionally when war begins. They execute plans. And those plans are rarely written during the crisis itself. They're written years in advance. Because at the highest levels of wealth, survival during chaos isn't about reacting quickly. It's about preparing long before the crisis ever arrives. When the possibility of war begins to rise, the first move of the ultra-rich is rarely physical. They don't immediately relocate themselves. They relocate their capital. Money at that scale cannot remain exposed to unstable environments. Billionaires design their financial structures so wealth can move quickly across countries, currencies, and legal systems. During geopolitical tensions, investors quietly increase holdings in stable financial hubs such as Switzerland and Singapore. These locations are known for strong banking regulations, political neutrality, and reliable legal systems. For wealthy investors, stability is as valuable as profit. Diversification becomes the foundation of protection. Instead of holding assets in one country or industry, the ultra-rich distribute wealth across multiple categories. Global stock markets. Precious metals like gold. Government bonds. Energy and natural resource investments. Private equity funds. International real estate. By spreading assets across different regions and industries, they reduce the risk of losing everything if one economy collapses. History shows that during conflicts like the Gulf War, global investors rushed toward safe haven assets such as gold and U.S. Treasury bonds. These assets historically maintain value during uncertainty. Legendary investors such as Warren Buffett have long emphasized the importance of preparing portfolios for volatility rather than reacting to panic. But the biggest advantage billionaires have is timing. They often reposition assets before the general public realizes what's happening. By the time markets begin reacting emotionally to headlines, sophisticated investors have already adjusted their portfolios. Because during global conflict, the first battlefield is often economic. Currencies fluctuate. Markets swing wildly. And capital flows toward safety. For the ultra-rich, the goal is simple. Move money before the storm becomes visible. Once capital is protected, the next phase of the ultra-rich war plan focuses on security. Extreme wealth creates influence, but it also creates visibility. And visibility can become dangerous during times of instability. When governments face pressure, economies struggle, and social tensions rise, wealthy individuals can become targets of crime, cyber attacks, or political backlash. That's why many billionaires invest heavily in sophisticated security systems. These systems go far beyond ordinary protection. They may include armored vehicles capable of resisting gunfire and explosions, advanced surveillance systems that monitor properties 24 hours a day, biometric entry systems that use fingerprints or facial recognition to control access. Highly trained private security teams often accompany wealthy individuals during travel. Some high-profile figures, including Mark Zuckerberg, have reportedly spent millions annually on personal security. But modern protection isn't only physical. In today's world, conflict often includes cyber warfare. Hackers may attempt to infiltrate corporate networks, steal intellectual property, manipulate financial systems, or leak sensitive personal information. For billionaires who control massive companies and financial assets, digital security becomes just as important as physical safety. Private cybersecurity teams monitor networks around the clock. Encrypted communication tools protect conversations. Sensitive data is stored across secure servers located in multiple countries. Some ultra-wealthy families even conduct security simulations. Just like corporations run disaster drills, they rehearse emergency scenarios, planning how to respond if communications fail, markets freeze, or travel becomes restricted. The goal is simple: eliminate vulnerability wherever possible. Because when global tensions rise, the richest people in the world understand one critical truth: visibility increases risk, and protection must evolve faster than the threats surrounding them. One of the greatest advantages extreme wealth provides is mobility. For the ultra-rich, homes aren't just places to live. They are strategic assets. Many billionaires maintain multiple residences across different countries and continents. These properties serve not only as luxury retreats but also as contingency locations during global instability. If a region becomes politically unstable or economically volatile, they already have alternative locations prepared. Some wealthy individuals purchase properties in geographically stable areas such as New Zealand or remote regions of Canada. These areas offer political stability, low population density, reliable infrastructure, and strong legal protections. In uncertain times, those characteristics become extremely valuable. But relocation planning goes even deeper. Many ultra-rich families obtain second or even third citizenships through legal investment programs. These additional passports allow them to enter and live in multiple countries if borders tighten or travel restrictions appear. Transportation is another key factor. Instead of relying on commercial airlines, billionaires often travel using private aviation networks. Private jets allow them to leave quickly without depending on public schedules or crowded airports. During periods of international crisis, private jet traffic often rises significantly as wealthy individuals relocate or visit secure properties. But these preparations are not necessarily about escaping problems. They are about maintaining flexibility. When travel becomes restricted, flexibility becomes power. The ultra-rich understand that mobility creates options. And options create security. In a rapidly changing world, the ability to move quickly and choose where to live can be one of the most powerful advantages wealth can provide. While most people focus on the destruction caused by war, experienced investors also study the economic shifts that conflict creates. History shows that wars reshape entire industries. Governments increase military spending dramatically. Energy markets fluctuate as supply routes change. Infrastructure projects accelerate to support logistics, manufacturing, and national defense. Companies involved in defense production, such as Lockheed Martin, often receive massive government contracts during periods of military expansion. But the ultra-rich rarely focus on only one sector. Instead, they study the broader war economy. Conflict affects multiple industries simultaneously. Cybersecurity companies become critical as digital attacks increase. Satellite and space-based technology grows in importance for communication and surveillance. Energy companies experience demand shifts as countries seek new fuel sources. Rare earth minerals, essential for electronics and defense technology, suddenly become strategic resources. War also accelerates technological innovation.
During World War II, the United States transformed its manufacturing industry at an unprecedented pace, producing aircraft, ships, vehicles, and advanced technology. Later, during the Cold War, intense competition between global powers drove innovation in aerospace engineering, computing, nuclear energy, and satellite communications.
The ultra-rich understand a difficult economic truth.
War is destructive, but it also forces governments to invest enormous amounts of money into rebuilding, defending, and modernizing their economies.
Where governments spend money, industries grow.
Strategic investors study these shifts carefully.
They attempt to position themselves early in sectors likely to receive long-term investment.
Because when the global system changes, opportunity often emerges inside disruption. Money does more than buy companies, homes, or luxury lifestyles. At the highest levels of wealth, money often buys access to influence.
During periods of global tension or war, political decisions can reshape the entire global economy almost overnight. Sanctions can shut down entire industries. Trade restrictions can redirect billions of dollars in global supply chains.
Government stimulus and military spending can instantly create massive demand in certain sectors. For wealthy investors, understanding these policy shifts early can make a huge difference. Many billionaires maintain close relationships with policymakers, economists, diplomats, and international organizations. These relationships are not always public, but they can provide valuable insights into the direction governments may take during crises. Some investors participate openly in political funding and advocacy. Figures such as George Soros have historically supported political initiatives and policy discussions around the world. Others take a quieter approach, building networks of advisors that include former regulators, policy experts, and economic strategists.
These networks help wealthy individuals understand how governments might respond to global conflict. Will sanctions target certain countries? Will trade routes be disrupted? Will defense spending surge?
Answers to these questions can determine the future of entire industries.
For example, if governments dramatically increase defense budgets, companies involved in aerospace, cybersecurity, or military technology may see rapid growth. The goal isn't necessarily controlling political decisions. Instead, it's about anticipating them before markets react.
Because when war begins, government policy becomes one of the most powerful forces shaping the global economy. And those who understand those shifts early often position themselves ahead of everyone else.
War often creates humanitarian crises that affect millions of people.
Refugee populations grow, healthcare systems collapse. Food shortages appear in vulnerable regions. During these moments, many billionaires step forward with large public donations aimed at helping those affected. Philanthropic foundations may fund refugee programs, provide emergency medical support, rebuild schools, or deliver food to war-torn communities. One well-known example is Bill Gates, whose global foundation has invested billions into health programs, disease prevention, and humanitarian support across many regions of the world. These contributions can have a real and meaningful impact, helping stabilize communities facing extreme hardship. But philanthropy at the billionaire level often operates with both humanitarian and strategic thinking. Large corporations depend heavily on public trust and international relationships. Governments, consumers, and investors all watch how influential individuals respond during global crises. Supporting humanitarian causes can strengthen reputation, demonstrate responsibility, and build stronger diplomatic relationships across countries.
There is also an economic dimension.
Long wars create instability. Instability damages global markets. Businesses rely on functioning infrastructure, stable populations, and predictable trade networks. Helping restore stability in affected regions can accelerate economic recovery and reduce long-term disruption. For this reason, billionaire philanthropy is often carefully structured through foundations staffed with economists, policy experts, and humanitarian specialists. These organizations analyze where resources can make the largest impact. Because in a highly interconnected global economy, restoring stability in one region can benefit the entire system. At the highest levels of wealth, generosity and long-term strategy often operate side by side. When global conflict begins, the most valuable asset isn't gold.
It's information.
In times of uncertainty, knowledge becomes one of the most powerful forms of protection. While the general public often relies on television news or social media updates, many wealthy investors access far more detailed sources of analysis. Billionaires and major investment funds frequently subscribe to private intelligence briefings that analyze geopolitical risks around the world. These reports are often produced by teams that include former diplomats, military strategists, economists, and security experts. Their job is to monitor international tensions and evaluate how events might unfold before they reach the headlines. These briefings examine scenarios such as
potential economic sanctions, energy supply disruptions, currency instability, military escalation risks, global supply chain breakdowns.
Instead of reacting to events after they occur, wealthy investors study possible outcomes before they happen. This early insight can provide a critical advantage. During major global crises, institutional investors and hedge funds sometimes adjust their portfolios days or even weeks before the broader market fully understands the situation.
That timing can protect billions of dollars. Information reduces uncertainty.
And uncertainty is what causes the extreme volatility that shakes financial markets during war. The faster investors understand a developing situation, the more options they have. They can move capital into safer assets, reduce exposure to unstable regions, or shift investments toward industries that may grow during conflict.
In high-risk environments, knowledge isn't just useful.
It becomes one of the most valuable forms of wealth protection available. Because when you understand what may happen before everyone else does, you gain the ability to act first.
Money alone does not guarantee survival during economic crises. The real advantage often comes from psychological discipline. War creates enormous uncertainty. News headlines move quickly. Markets fluctuate violently.
Fear spreads rapidly among investors. For many people, these emotions lead to panic decisions.
They sell assets at the worst possible moment. They abandon long-term plans, they react to headlines instead of analyzing deeper economic trends. But many successful billionaires train themselves to operate differently.
They focus on long-term thinking rather than short-term fear. One of the most famous investors in the world, Warren Buffett, often emphasizes the importance of emotional discipline. He once famously advised investors to be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. This philosophy reflects a mindset built on historical perspective.
Global conflicts have shaped economies many times before. The World War I disrupted international trade and financial systems. The World War II transformed global industries and technological development.
The Cold War created decades of political uncertainty.
Yet in every case, economies eventually adapted. New technologies emerged, industries evolved, markets recovered and continued growing.
Investors who understand this long historical cycle are less likely to panic during temporary crises.
Because when you zoom out far enough, even the most dramatic global events become chapters within a much longer economic story. And those who remain calm and patient during chaos often position themselves for growth when stability returns.
Despite popular myths, the ultra-rich rarely rely on a single secret plan designed for doomsday scenarios. Their real strategy is far less dramatic, but far more effective.
Preparation.
Instead of reacting to crises when they happen, wealthy individuals spend years building systems designed to handle uncertainty. They diversify their wealth across multiple countries and financial markets, reducing the risk of any single political event destroying their entire portfolio. They invest in physical security, safe real estate locations, and contingency plans for their families and businesses. Some maintain multiple residences across different regions of the world, allowing them to relocate quickly if necessary. They maintain relationships with advisors, economists, and geopolitical analysts who help them understand global risks before they escalate. They gather information earlier than most investors. And most importantly, they follow structured strategies rather than emotional reactions. While many people panic when headlines appear, experienced investors often rely on plans that were designed long before the crisis began. Because at extreme levels of wealth, protecting money can be just as important as earning it. And protecting wealth requires thinking about worst-case scenarios long before they occur.
But perhaps the most important lesson is this: these strategies are not limited to billionaires. Preparation reduces fear, knowledge reduces uncertainty. Planning reduces risk.
The ultra-rich simply apply these principles at a much larger scale. In times of war or crisis, the difference between panic and stability often comes down to one simple factor:
who planned ahead?